Hey guys, did you know that there's a Viking king of Denmark and Norway named Harold Bluetooth, who is who Bluetooth is essentially named for today? And so I'm going to show you some of the research I came across looking into this Bluetooth symbol, why it's named Bluetooth, where it comes from, what the runes mean, because it's actually a very interesting story. It comes essentially, the story is in the 10th century, there was this Viking king of Denmark named King Harold Gormsum before he was Bluetooth, right? And basically, this is his father, Gorm. His father was the first king of Denmark, and he had Harold, and Harold ended up taking over the throne after his father and was known to be the Christian king of Denmark. He brought Christianity into the Norway and Denmark, whereas before these lands were primarily pagan worshiping lands. Like they weren't Christian countries. They followed Norse mythology. They followed the creation myth of Odin, of Thor, of those Norse myths that we hear about. That's the pagan ideology. And so this guy Harold Bluetooth was known to bring Christianity to Denmark and Norway and unite their petty kingdoms and different, I guess, tribes or areas to spread Christianity throughout the land. So I'm going to show you a little bit more from him. This is allegedly a picture of him. It's they say that he's called Bluetooth, which it's spelled Blatan in Danish, I believe. Either that he ate a lot of blueberries and stained his tooth, or that he had a dead, or just really bad tooth that just turned bluish, blackish gray. There's also another theory that some Vikings they used to tattoo their teeth. So perhaps he could have had some bluish, blackish tattoo on his tooth if the story is true, right? So we have this guy, King Harold Bluetooth, where he's known for spreading Christianity around his kingdom during the time. As I said, they were pretty much pagan polytheistic worship before. Now, the runes that make up Bluetooth are from the Nordic Young Frankfurt, I believe it's called. 1 second. The runes that make up this Bluetooth symbol is these. So it's called the Younger Frankfurt alphabet, right? And these are just runes, okay? And so what you do is they took one rune for the letter H, haggle, which also means hail, and they took one rune for the letter B, Jarkin, I hope that's right, and they combined these two together to equal this Bluetooth symbol, and that actually equals a bind rune. So when you take two separate runes, and overlap them together to make one, it's called a binding rune, a bind rune, right? Which just again just says two or more runes that come together as one. Here again, we have it's called the H is Haglaz, which stands for hail. So this H rune in this, you can kind of see it right here in the combined rune. It stands for hail, apparently, or precipitation or destruction of some sort. And then Jarkin, the B, is meant to stand for some kind of like leafy twig or a birch from a tree. So And that's all none of this could be true. I mean, all the information I come across could be lies. This is just what I've come across, and this is what I put together for my research. Apparently, this is what they say it means: hail and birch or poplar. And then you combine the two runes and that's how we get the Bluetooth symbol. However, there's more to the story. Okay. So the reason that they use this guy Bluetooth, this King Harold Bluetooth, that's the reason they named Bluetooth after him, is because, as I've said, he was responsible basically for he was the Christian king. He was known for uniting Christianity among throughout his kingdom. So they at this time, if you're familiar, none of us are really familiar with history, right? But at this time, this is in red. You can see this is his kingdom, and his allies are in yellow. And down here, I've underlined the Holy Roman Empire, because I was looking at the time that this was all going on, right? And it says that this King Harold guy was born in 910, right? He conquered all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian, right? He was killed by his own son, by the way. So so I was like, okay, well, what else was going on around that time? And then I thought of Charlemagne. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Charlemagne, but he's part of the Holy Roman Empire, and he was 100 years prior to this king, right? And what did he do? What did Charlemagne do? He was responsible too for pushing Christianity and kind of trying to conquer nations and countries by pushing their Holy Roman Empire Christianity. So he was most famous for, becoming the first Holy Roman Empire. He was also baptized by some pope, I guess. It was all kind of a way to create a narrative to the public that the Roman Empire had authority to crown political figures, if that makes any sense. So it says that Charlemagne was responsible for spreading Christianity, but he used his military power, often using forceful methods to convert pagan populations. So what I'm understanding is that this guy Harold Bluetooth basically helped spread Christianity among his kingdom, who was prior a pagan society. And I guess they weren't allowed to be a pagan society anymore. So that's why they named this Bluetooth technology after this guy Bluetooth, who went around and united Christianity among his nations. Bluetooth technology, if you look at what the technology does, Bluetooth, it connects wireless devices over a distance. So it, quote unquote, unites a bunch of different wireless devices, or they actually call them NPCs. They say they connect different NPCs through some sort of, like, they call it a master slave relationship, where one phone is a master, the other phone is a slave, and they connect wirelessly. I'm not quite sure. Now, King Harold Bluetooth, he converted to Christianity. And then that's basically why this Bluetooth is named after him. No wonder, right? Because he's responsible for going crusading around, telling everyone what to believe, just like the Holy Roman Empire wanted. And actually, he ended up, there's a place called Jelling, Denmark, or Gelling, and they have these stones, these inscribed stones. Harold, who won all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian. He literally wrote an inscription on this Jelling stone, which is in Jelling, Denmark. You can go look. They have these mounds. There's these massive mounds. And it actually does remind me of the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois, and what that is really about, right? And if you want to see this full PDF, go to Finnkers.com. I will have it uploaded there for you to see the full research and slides. So essentially, Let me show you. These are the Cahokia mounds in Illinois, which are these man-made mounds. Apparently, the mounds where King Harold was, they're supposedly these burial mounds or something of a memorial to them, right? I love how the city's name is unknown, right? But we just know everything else about it, but we don't know the original city name, right? So we have no idea what it is. They're man-made mounds. We don't know the name. We don't know it's abandoned, but it's protected as a historical landmark. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think this is incredible. So our mounds, burial sites, incredible, right? Which also took me to Serpent Mound in Ohio. Have you guys ever seen Serpent Mound? I mean, this is incredible. It looks like a snake under as a mound. So it's really easy to twist our history because it's not our history. It's his story. You know, we who are we to say that this guy was so good or benevolent? Who are we to say that this technology is all good and we really just don't know, unfortunately. But if you're like me, you've probably wondered, is there a connection between this king Bluetooth and our real teeth and Bluetooth? I don't know, just something that crossed my mind. And just, oh yeah, these engineers who came up with Bluetooth just loved the story of this Viking king who united Christianity among all the Scandinavian nation or whatever his kingdoms were in Norway. And that's why we named it after him. And we used H for Harold and B for Bluetooth. And we took those runes and we just combined them together. Seems like legit magic. The whole runes. It seems like we don't understand what these bind runes or purpose of these symbols, sigils, whatever they are, mean. So, right, it says the H one means hail, the B one means some kind of birch, but who really actually knows? And this was another big thing. They started getting baptized. These kings started getting baptized by popes, or was part of what this was to establish an authority or legitimacy to Christianity, perhaps. I'm not quite sure. In some manner, or something to do with the Holy Roman Empire. And so, do we really know if he had a blue tooth or a black tooth, or if he just liked blueberries, or if he had a tattoo on his tooth? No, we don't really know because we just have we have to just take what we're given, and we don't necessarily know what if anything that we're given is true because most of our lives we've just been indoctrinated. So, with that said, I just thought that was cool, and that's where this little rune comes from for Bluetooth. So, thanks for sticking in with me.